It's kind of like amateur scholarship. You're just wiping away all the other stuff that comes into play. I mean, the thing that was interesting about all the texts surrounding the Christ event is that they transmit this very unique cosmology and soteriology, which, I mean, literally translated, that means like saviorology, so the study of salvation, the study of the Savior. It's transmitted very uniquely, particularly if you are familiar with the milieu in which early Christianities started, right? Because there was never one. Catholicos in Greek means universal, and there was never one universal Christianity. It didn't exist. There were certain church fathers who tried to claim it, but the historical evidence is that, they believed. I mean, they had differences on everything you could have a difference on. The nature of Christ's message, what exactly purpose it meant to convey, what Christ actually was. Was he fully man? Was he also fully God? Was he a messenger? Was he some sort of spiritual potency come to fruition, to incarnation? And they had very, very different opinions. So you have to understand, that's why we have to cover a lot of ground, because, I mean, that early Christianity stems, their entire worldview it was basically Hellenized Judaism, which contains core elements of Neoplatonism with Christ. You just add Christ to that, and Christ becomes this resolution to the problem of existence in the material universe under the governance of what they called the archons, archontes, these things, the governors, the rulers. And it's really interesting because a lot of what you said in your intro was basically what I had been thinking about on the first podcast. You had this way of surprising me with some of your questions, and it was great because it really stretched me in the moment. And then even afterwards, I had to really think about, and those are my favorite experiences, when I have to not explain to anyone else, but explain to myself really why or what I believe. And I would say that esoteric Christianity from this standpoint now is taking the literature and doctrines surrounding the Christ event and reading that in an, as you say, right, esoteric context, in the same way that Jewish Kabbalists read the Torah or the Tanakh. As the only difference is that one is sanctioned, right? The rabbinical authorities sanction Kabbalah. They even encourage it. Whereas on the other hand, Christianity, the authorities, they discourage it. It's anathema. It's blasphemy to a certain degree. Exactly what you're saying, reading it on multiple levels. There is the letter, there is the spirit and the soul. There is that was the style of writing at the time. The first, second centuries AD or CE. Everything was pseudoepigrapha, written by a philosopher or a disciple or a devotee and attributed to somebody else. Herbes Trismegistus and, some Egyptian priest, Abaddon and things like that. But there was a lot of word play. There was a lot of symbolism because, right, I mean, there really is no other way to really talk about this stuff. It defies definition. That is why we seek gnosis, to have an insight that is beyond the word. But we have to use these mythic narratives, these symbolic stories in order to communicate these on some levels. So where does the idea of esoteric Christianity come from? Why is there one school of thought that has now been, all these different branches of Christian thought have now been kind of pigeonholed into esoteric Christianity, and then on the other hand there's large and small o orthodoxy? Really, we have clues, right? I believe it's in the Gospels of both Luke and Matthew, when Christ basically says, he's asked why he speaks in parables, and he says, for some it is given to know, the truth or the teaching of God, and for others it is not given to know. So right there, he's establishing this idea that, yes, I do speak in parables, and parables convey only a part of the truth. And the other stuff, I can only communicate to those who are given to know it. Okay? So there's that. And then there's also in the non-canonical Gospels, such as like the Gospel of Thomas, where Thomas answers a question kind of correctly. It's almost like a Zen koan type of thing that Christ gives to him, and he takes him into a side room and reveals certain truths to him. And when he comes out, the other disciples or his friends, they ask him, what did the master say to you? And he's like, if I told you, you would stone me to death, and those stones would turn to fire and consume you. So this is a potent distinction between, as you say, inner door Christianity and outer door Christianity. And what goes into the exploration of one versus the other is dogma on the outer door, right? And then studying the dogma of the church and the letter of the quote unquote law, and the discoveries or workings out of the church fathers. And then on the other hand, in esoteric Christianity, we have a much bigger sandbox to play in because we have all these other gospels.